Hello and welcome to all. So as you all know, the GS1 paper, the paper 1 for the UPSC Civil Services Prelims examination has just concluded, and right now we'll be discussing about the answers for the science and technology questions that has come. So many of you who have already attempted this paper or are still going to attempt this paper next year or something, you will understand after seeing this particular paper that the strategy has significantly changed for UPSC, and even from the science and technology perspective, there is a significant mix that you can see questions which have come from current affairs in depth, and in addition to that also from the basic portions of basic science as well. So this is where the role of your basic NCERTs plays a significant role in your preparation. So with that said, we'll begin with the session. So coming to the first question which we will see is, we are discussing the set C of the UPSC paper, set C. Out of that, the 36th question will come with that first. See, in the context of hereditary diseases, okay, consider the following statements. Passing on mitochondrial disease from parent to child can be prevented by mitochondrial replacement therapy, alright, mitochondrial replacement therapy either before or after in vitro fertilization of the egg. This is the first statement. Coming to the second statement, a child inherits mitochondrial disease entirely from the mother and not from the father. If you've attended our classes, you already know, we have already discussed this in detail. In fact, this is also a question which we have published in our PMT test or Prelims test series mock test. Out of that, this was the particular question. In the context of recent advancement in human reproductive technology, what is spindle transfer used for? The answer for this is prevention of mitochondrial diseases. If you've actually attempted this question and if you had basically read the explanation, you will understand that in this case, the answer is C. Mitochondrial replacement therapy can be done before or after the fertilization in the case of spindle transfer technology or pronuclear technology. So these are the two methods wherein we are performing, or the doctors are performing, mitochondrial replacement therapy. So the first statement is correct. Coming to the second statement, we already know mitochondrial diseases are actually transferred from the mother and not from the father. So the second statement is also right, and the answer is option C. With that, we will go to the next segment. With reference to the recent developments regarding recombinant vector vaccines, consider the following statements. The first statement is genetic engineering is applied in the development of these vaccines. The second statement, bacteria and viruses are used as vectors. Alright, now in this question, we have dealt with many of the areas regarding vector vaccine, recombinant DNA technology, etc. In fact, you could see that in the various classes that I have taken for your current affairs plus class also from our normal GS class as well. So with this basic knowledge, even though it is not a direct question that you can tackle, you can think about it and find an answer to this one. The first statement is very simple. It's a direct yes. Genetic engineering is applied in the development of these vaccines. For example, we have the mRNA, the DNA vaccine, etc. All these are the new vaccines which are coming up, which are the recombinant vaccines. Now coming to the second statement, bacteria and viruses are used as vectors. Now for getting to know this particular statement, you have to read the question again with reference to recent development. So basically when you're coming and talking in the recent phenomena, as far as vector vaccines are concerned, this statement is wrong because we don't have as of now any bacterial vectors. So the answer for this one is A. Alright. Now coming to the next question, water can dissolve more substances than any other liquid because A, it is dipolar in nature, B, it is a good conductor of heat, C, it has a high value of specific heat, and finally D, it is an oxide of hydrogen. Now see, this is basically a very basic science question which you can study from your normal NCERTs itself. See, when you talk about water, see, the water's chemical formula is H2O. So it looks something like this. You have oxygen and two hydrogens like this. Now the reason as to why, see, this is oxygen and this is hydrogen and hydrogen. When such a structure is made, right, the reason as to why water becomes such a high solvent. It is called the universal solvent because one hydrogen will have a slightly positive charge and the second hydrogen will have a slightly negative charge. So such kind of structures are what is called as dipolar. Dipolar. Right. So the answer here is that water is the universal solvent because it is dipolar in nature. The answer is option A. With that, we'll come to the next one. With reference to street lighting, how do sodium lamps differ from LED lamps? The first statement, sodium lamps produce light in 360 degrees, but it is not so in the case of LED lamps. Second statement, as street lights, sodium lamps have longer lifespan than LED lamps. And finally, come to the third statement, the spectrum of visible light from sodium lamps is almost monochromatic, while LED lamps offer significant color advantages in street lighting. So when it comes to this particular question, see, the first statement is correct. The first statement is correct. Why? Because sodium lamps actually produce light in 360 degrees. For you to understand this, what are they trying to say is that if you have a lamp like this, right, if you have a sodium lamp like this, light goes all around. So if you have a lamp like this, all 360 degrees around it, light is given. Now this is a negative as far as street lighting program is concerned. Why? Because 50% of the energy or the light which is needed is going in the opposite direction. If you have a light this way, 50% of the light is going on top, while we need all the light to be focused on the ground so that the street can be lit. Now that is the problem with sodium lamps, right? So 50% of energy is given in the opposite direction. But as far as LED lamps are concerned, if you've seen the new LED lamps which are coming, they come in a panel form like this, right? And all 100% of the light can be focused on the ground itself. So the first statement is correct. Coming to the second statement, anybody can answer that this is a wrong statement. Straight lines, sodium lamps don't have a very long lifespan compared to that of LED lamps. That's a completely wrong statement. And with that, we'll come to the third statement. The spectrum of visible light from sodium lamp is almost monochromatic, while LED lamps offer significant color advantages in street lighting. This is also a true statement. Why? Because sodium lamps are producing a monochromatic light. Predominantly, the light which is coming out of the sodium lamp is of a particular frequency in the yellow shade. So everything in that region looks yellowish. Predominantly, the color that we can see under sodium lamp is predominantly yellowish. While that of LED lamps, when I say it gives a better significant color advantages, is that all the other colors which are there, which is lit under an LED lamp, is brightly visible under that of the LED lamp. So the third statement is also correct, and the answer for this turns out to be option C. Coming to the next question, the term ACE2 is talked about in the context of, it's a very, very common question for anybody who's been living in the past 2 years in this COVID situation. It's actually the spread of viral disease. It's basically this particular gene which is affected when the virus spreads from one particular person to another. So this is how they infiltrate into the human body or different cells. So the answer here is option D. Now coming to the next question, which is bisphenol A or BPA is a cause of concern. It is a structural or key component in the manufacture of which of the following kinds of plastic? So the questioner already is saying that we have 4 different kinds of plastic, and out of the 4 different kinds of plastic, which one has the most amount of BPA or bisphenol A? Here we have low density polyethylene, polycarbonate, polyethylene terephthalate and polyvinyl chloride, right? See, if you're looking at the third option, it is basically the PET bottles, right? Polyvinyl chloride is PVC, and low density polyethylene, these are these bottles which actually contain, the water bottles that you normally buy, Bisleri or Aquafina, all of those things, they usually use polyethylene bottles. And then you're left with polycarbonate and the rest of them. So here in this case, if you've been following the news, actually the major news is that you should know that polyethylene and PET bottles, these two don't have any amount of bisphenol A. Why? Because bisphenol A is a highly carcinogenic agent. It causes cancer. If you're consuming too much of it, it is causing cancer. So because of that basic phenomena itself, you cannot be adding bisphenol A into any of the packets which is used for consumption. Right. So the doubt will be between polycarbonate and polyvinyl chloride. In this case, the right answer is actually polycarbonate. Even though polyvinyl chloride also has some bisphenol A in it, but polycarbonate, one of the major components used for the for manufacturing of polycarbonate is bisphenol A. So the right answer for this one is option B, polycarbonate. Coming to the next one is triclosan is considered harmful when exposed to high levels for a long period of time, and it is most likely present in which of the following? See, triclosan is actually a very common term, right? It's a very common term. If you are very well aware, or if you have a habit of reading the ingredients about different things that you have at home, you will understand that many of the toothbrush, the toothpaste and the various hand sanitizer, the hand washes and soaps, etc., they have this component called triclosan, right? So from there directly you can come to know the answer is D, toiletries. Coming to the next one, it's a very simple basic question. Which one of the following is the reason why astronomical distances are measured in light years? It's a very simple straightforward question. Option A says distances among stellar bodies do not change. Option B, gravity of stellar bodies does not change. Option C, light always travels in a straight line. And finally, speed of light is always the same. So to simply tell you what is a light year is simply the distance that light will travel in a year. That distance is what is simply a light year. Okay, so the reason as to why astronomical distances are calculated in this particular unit called light year is because the speed of light is common, speed of light is same. So you know this normal formula, right? Speed is equal to distance by time. And you should know light year is a unit of distance. So what will be the distance? You know the speed of light and you also know the time, which is 1 year. So the total distance can be formed. So the main constant here is that the speed of light is always a constant and time is always a constant. So like that you can always find the constant value of D, which is 1 light year. So the answer for this one is that speed of light is always the same. See, distances among stellar bodies do not change. This easily you can eliminate this option because obviously you know that planets and stars are moving away from each other. The second statement says gravity of a stellar body does not change. No, it is not necessary. Sometimes new objects or different bodies can collide with each other and form one particular new body, and with that, with more amount of mass, the gravity automatically will change because gravity is a function of the mass of that particular object. So if increase in mass happens, then the gravitational pull of that object also will increase. So that is also wrong. Light, the third statement, light always travels in a straight line. This is not true. For example, if you are considering the situation of a black hole, right? If you have a black hole here, if light is coming from any angle, it will be pulled towards the black hole. So it is not necessary that black hole, the light will travel in a straight line. It can bend depending upon the space-time. Alright, so the correct answer is option D. With that, we'll come to the next question, which is Ball-Guard 1 and Ball-Guard 2 technologies are mentioned in the context of. See, Ball-Guard 1 and Ball-Guard 2 in this case, actually if you've been following the news, it is basically a technology to develop genetically modified crop plants, basically for BT cotton. For BT cotton. You know, one of the major issues as far as cotton is concerned is the bollworm. Right? It's the bollworm. So Ball-Guard 1 and Ball-Guard 2 are technologies which are making these crops more resistant towards the various insecticides and the various insects which actually eat the cotton. Alright, so this has been made by Maheko company, and this Maheko company has put forward these two technologies to make genetically modified cotton crops. Now coming to the next question, which is a very simple straightforward question. In a pressure cooker, the temperature at which the food is cooked depends mainly upon which of the following, right? So we have area of the hole in the lid, the temperature of the flame, and finally the weight of the lid. So I don't know if I should explain this too much. It's very simple. Obviously, when you take a pressure cooker, you all know there is a whistle hole there, right? There's a whistle hole over there. This is from which the the excess pressure which is built inside the pressure cooker is released. Now, if the hole is, for example, large, if the area of that hole is increased, then a lot of pressure is released in one single go. If too much of pressure is released in one single go, then in that case, the temperature will fall down, right? So, the first statement automatically, it will depend. You can understand that the first statement is correct. Coming to the second statement, temperature of the flame. There is also a very straightforward, option, wherein if you are increasing the flame, then obviously the temperature that you want will attain quickly. But if you are decreasing the flame, or if you put it in minimum flame, then the temperature will take a longer period of time to reach there. So the second statement is also correct. And the third statement as well is very straightforward. If you have, in your homes as well, if you have asked your mother, if you want to boil something much more quickly, if you're making black tea or something, if you wanted to boil something much more quickly, then you will put a lid on it. The main idea for putting the lid on top of that is because the pressure is maintained. And if you have a heavy lid, that if you're putting a heavy lid on top of a saucepan or something, then the pressure is built inside that saucepan for a longer period of time. The same concept is applied even for a pressure cooker. So the weight of the lid also matters. If you have a light lid, then the chances for the pressure to escape out also will increase. So the weight of the lid is also present for the pressure cooker to function properly. Therefore, the answer is option D. So, coming to the next question, which is consider the following statements. Adenovirus have single-stranded DNA genomes, whereas retroviruses have double-stranded DNA genomes. So, in this case, automatically you can say that this first statement is wrong. Viruses don't have DNA genome, they have RNAs, right? So, in that case, the first statement is wrong. But coming to the second statement, common cold is sometimes caused by an adenovirus, while AIDS is caused by a retrovirus. This statement is correct. So, the answer is option B, 2 only. So, that's all with the science and technology questions. I hope all of you performed very well and you will be able to crack this prelims examination. Thank you.